Good morning everyone and welcome back to Kids Zone. It is really good to see you. I'm glad that you could join us today. What we're going to be thinking about today is the story of Joseph, and he was a dreamer, and we're going to hear a story about him later on. But to start with, we're going to think about what it means for God to love us and for us to love God. And we're going to start with a lively song for you to join in with. It's called Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And we're going to get up and we're going to do the actions together. So come and join me for this song. Let's go.
Your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Da 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 da. Oh yeah. I will serve the Lord with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind, and with all my strength. I will serve the Lord with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind, and with all my strength. With all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind, with all my strength. Yeah. I will serve the Lord with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind, and with all my strength.
Yesterday we heard the story of Joseph, and remember he had his coat and he was showing off to his brothers, and his brothers were very jealous of him and they were going to kill him, but one of the brothers said, no, let's put him into a well. And he was then taken away by some men to Egypt, and he was sold there to a man called Potiphar. So that's the next part of the story that we're going to read, and it's called Joseph Meets the King. Let's do that together. Joseph was in faraway Egypt. His wicked brothers had sent him there. His father thought a fierce wild animal had killed him. Joseph was in prison. In faraway Egypt, he was all alone and very unhappy. But God knew all about it. God loved Joseph and had a special plan for him. Joseph shouldn't have been in prison. He hadn't done anything wrong. It was all a mistake. The prison governor liked Joseph. He put him in charge of all the other prisoners. That was part of God's plan. One day, the king of Egypt was so cross with the man who brought him his wine that he sent him to prison. The man was very unhappy. He had a dream that upset him. "Tell me all about it," Joseph said. "God will help us understand." "I had the king's cup in my hand," the man said. "I squeezed some grapes into the cup and gave it to the king." "That's a good dream," Joseph said. "It means you'll be back in the palace very soon. When you get out of prison, please tell the king about me." "I promise I will," the man said. 3 days later, he was out of prison, but he forgot his promise to Joseph. Then the king had a dream that upset him. "I know someone who can help," said the man who brought him his wine. So the king of Egypt sent for Joseph. "In my dream, I saw 7 fat cows by the river. Then 7 thin cows came by and ate them up," the king told Joseph. God helped Joseph to understand the king's dream. "For 7 good years, there will be plenty of food," Joseph said. "Then for 7 bad years, nothing will grow. You must store up food so that no one is hungry when the bad years come." "I will put you in charge just to make sure," said the king. He took off his ring and put it on Joseph's finger. He hung a great gold chain around Joseph's neck and gave him a chariot to ride in. Joseph was the most important man in Egypt after the king. That was part of God's plan too. So God had a plan for Joseph, and even though his brothers tried to make sure that plan didn't happen, and even though Joseph was put into prison, and maybe again his plan wouldn't have come into being, but God was with him and he knew exactly what was going to happen. So when the king had that dream, Joseph was the only person who could understand it and interpret it, because God was with him and it was God who was telling him what the dream meant. So all the way through that, God was showing how special Joseph was to him. He knew he had a plan for his life and he wanted him to do the best that he could in every situation, even when those situations were difficult and whether he didn't know what was going to happen the next day. And he trusted the winemaker to tell the king, and he forgot all about him. He'd made a promise and he didn't follow through with that promise until he remembered much later on. So Joseph was in prison for a long time, but he never gave up on God because he knew that God was with him. And God is with us the same today. And he loves us and he has a plan for each one of us. And that's our message for this week, that God has a special plan for you and for me. And he wants us to do that because he loves us and he wants us to love him back. There is a great chorus which goes, "My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there is nothing that he cannot do." What does it tell us? It says this: with God, anything is possible. And when he loves us, he wants us to follow his plan that he has for each of us. And he wants us to know what his love is like. And yesterday we started thinking about that verse in the Bible, which is a prayer for all of us. And we're going to do that again today. So let's do it together. It's from Ephesians chapter 3, verse 17. And it goes like this. Let's do it together. "I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have the power to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Jesus, and to know his love and be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. How amazing is that? To know that God's love is bigger than anything that we can imagine. Will we do it again? Let's do it. So this is from Ephesians chapter 3, verse 17. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have the power to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Jesus, and to know this love and be filled to the measure of the fullness of God. Let's do it once more. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 17. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have the power to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Jesus, and to know this love and be filled to the measure of the fullness of God. And how big is that fullness? Well, it's bigger than we can ever imagine, because God is in us and he loves us, and it's great for us to know that he loves us and that we're special to him. Joseph was a dreamer, and God used that to put his plan into place. I wonder what you are. Are you sporty? Are you gifted in music? Can you sing? Can you draw? Are you friendly? Do you get on with people? Are you good with maths or English with words? Whatever it is that you have which is special to you, God will use you. He will use you because he has a plan for your life and you are special to him. I hope you've enjoyed today. That's us for the end of Kids Zone for today. But please remember that God is with you and he loves you. And how big is that love? Bigger than you can even ever imagine. We'll see you on Thursday, but meantime, stay active, stay smiling, stay praying, and God bless you. We'll see you soon. Bye.